Hi, I'm Michael Kirk, and if you're watching this, you have probably just lost something. Be it contact with your children, any sort of hope that your housing application for your children is going to go through. You could have even lost the sense of who you even are anymore. You probably asked for help, and there's services that are supposed to support you, and instead treating you like you're the problem and not a parent. I've been there, and that's where this fight started. So when I asked for help, I was told that I was in insufficient housing. For context, I was in a one bed flat, first floor, in a council block, which under social services guidelines is insufficient for children. You are not allowed to bring them up in the ground above the ground floor because of noise, and children have the right to their own bedroom, meaning under UK regulations, I'd need at least two. So I then take that decision to Property Pool, who were my local housing provider, and according to them, that is just a policy that I'm unable to follow a legal requirement set to me by social services. But there's a problem with that. See, the right of access is a children's right, not a parent's right. Parents have PR, which is a legal responsibility to meet their children's needs. This is under the Children Act, so Section 1 of the Children Act states the needs of the child are paramount. This is categorized through a structure called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Section 11 of the Children Act emphasizes your child's right to assume you are involved in their lives. So that's not quite the same as you having a legal right to see your child. It is your child who has the right to see you. Because of Section 1, when your child wants to see you, you are obliged to meet all of those needs, which includes housing. But then, if it's only my children, I'm not eligible for housing, and without housing, I can't have my children. So what do we do here then? So in this video, I'll explain the basic battleground that you're very likely in at the moment. I'll give a brief insight into the cause of the issues that you're coming up against, and I'll give a brief insight into the first steps you can take to reunite with your children. So, first of all, when it comes to how custody decisions are made, it's always got to be in the best interest of the child. Now, primarily, very understandably, you think to yourself, well, I'm trying to be there. Well, of course, that's the best thing for my kids to have both parents in their lives. And I will make a video speaking on, you know, in defense of mums who end up manipulated into this situation. Just go easy on each other, okay? So, as I mentioned earlier, ch- decisions involving children partly includes the parents' housing status. So, will the child be actually better off as a result of you getting them back all the time the way you used to? So, the way they're going to see it is that if your ex has got a big house that you both put everything in for the life you're on, and you know what I mean, and you're living in a room rent where you're not even supposed to have kids, or In my own case, near the end before I won my housing dispute, where I was living in a first floor flat, which was perfectly fine for a single person. Like, they're not going to say that your kid's better off in that. The reason you're arguing to get out of a situation like that is because they're not. That doesn't mean you won't get to see them though. It just means you've got a few steps before you get your life again. Now, the reason they do that is like service users and housing providers and councils won't move you into a situation where you risk ending up in debt, which can then lead to homelessness. So they're trying to make sense. The issue is, and where it comes from, is how they've been measuring child residency. So a lot of the time with normally dads, this happens to mums too, all right? They end up in our battle for one reason or another, with probably about as much fault as many of us. Some loads, some none. But I'll use dads as the template if that's okay. Generally speaking, when we separate from our partners, we try and do the honourable thing. We try and do it amicably. So we leave her with all the child related benefits, and we leave her with the house, we leave her with the lot, and we start from scratch again, not quite realising something. Once we do that, our address then doesn't match the kids, and then the Data Protection Act comes into effect. So it should, in theory, be very easy to get around, where you literally just tell your ex, look, they're not recognising that I've even got children, so I'm having issues moving into a two-bed flat or a house like I'm being told I need to, because of how a lot, and that bit makes sense, but it's the fact that a lot of the time the ex will go, well, that's ridiculous, and it comes from when we're put on the birth certificate and we get told, right, you've got equal parents as you generally mean in terms of medical, which when your address matches the kids, then that's fine. The problem with the child elements when it comes to universal credit is the child element isn't an adult benefit, it's the kid's dole managed on behalf of a legally responsible adult, normally the mum. So because we're basically leaving the family as stable as we can, the bureaucracy sets in where when we're applying for somewhere, they go, well, you haven't got kids, even though I'm on a birth certificate, and if I don't meet their needs, I would go to prison just as swiftly as the mum would. We're both equally legally culpable because it's not because it's basically just not child centered like it's supposed to be. You then find in that social services are saying, well, maybe see your GP, go and sort your mental health out, basically sending you to mourn children who are still alive, rather than just admitting that there's an issue when it comes to data protection and that. Now, the reason they're hitting the brick wall in that is because of UC policy when it comes to bedroom tax. It's very often misapplied, but basically under UC policy, a child can be recognised as having two homes if it's in the child's best interests. However, because it's fairly unlikely for someone to turn up with a 50-50 lives with order, they're not really used to dealing with a situation like that. So even though policy is supposed to be written in line with law, it's not currently being practiced that way, which is what's blocking you from improving your housing status to have a fighting shot at equal parenthood. So, what do you do when contact breaks down? Here are your first legal steps. Number one is apply for mediation. So, you can't just apply for court straight away. First, you have to go for a MIAM. That's a mediation, information, and assessment meeting. This is normally free if you're on universal credit or a low income. I will leave information at the bottom for if you're not none of the above. It's also your first step to proving that you are trying to resolve this peacefully and fairly. Number two is submit a C100 form. So if mediation doesn't work or your ex doesn't turn up, don't panic. The C100 form is how you ask the court to step in. So if you've been unable to come to an agreement in mediation, you would then do the C100 form. The only time you wouldn't need to do mediation is if you've got a domestic abuse exemption, in which case it wouldn't be really like viable or anything like. But you need to attach your MIAM certificate to the C100 if you're not supported for domestic abuse and don't have access to a merit letter. And number three, can't afford the legal fees, using the X160. So as I mentioned earlier, if you're on universal credit or a low income, you can apply for help with fees. The EX160 form will pay for the C100 or the court application. It will not pay for legal representation, unfortunately. For that, you would have to either pay privately, which is a few grand, I've heard, or you could get help with your legal fees if you're on a low income and supported for domestic abuse by a charity that's around for over 10 years. The legal aid agency are quite specific with who they accept in this one, but it's a way to stop money from keeping you from protecting your bonds with your children. So, what do you do when they take everything? You breathe, you slow down, stop trusting your thumb. That thing is not your mate. Seriously, don't let it message it away. Don't let it destroy your case. Okay? Stay on a level footing. Stay at the point where you are trying to stabilize your family. That thumb has an entire plan ready for it. Okay? So go run through the steps of MIAM, C100s, and if need be, EX160. Start learning the system because you're up against basically six different industries, all of who need degrees, none of who understand each other, and profile and assumption tends to happen a lot in this. So, as much as the path ahead can be quite frustrating when you're being gaslit, the feigning ignorance that's just trying to blame you, refuse to raise your voice. Stay calm because if they can wind you up the way they see it, your kids can too. They're always going to look for something to hone in on. Keep this about your kids. Judges are often going to be sick of hearing couples going he said, she said, when they're only really caring about your kids. They don't care about you, they don't care about her, or vice versa. And start by watching the next video, which will come up soon, titled Why the System Isn't Broken, It Was Built This Way. And when you're ready, we fight it together. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. and share with someone who you think may need it. Thank you. And just before I go, this was my first ever video, so please go easy. Thanks. Bye.